p.m. and November 4th City Council meeting will come to order. We will begin with the invocation. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you as a community, leaning on your strength and grace after the trials of recent months. As we hold our first in-person meeting since Hurricane Helene and Milton, we lift up to you our beloved city. We are grateful for the resilience you have placed in our hearts and for the courage that has carried us through these storms. We pray for each family affected by the flooding and damage, those facing the heartbreak of displacement, and those uncertain about the future of their homes. Please grant them peace, comfort, and hope as they navigate the long road of recovery and restoration. Lord, we are especially grateful for the generosity shown by so many who stepped forward to help. We lift up in gratitude the people who donated their time, materials, and money to support so many in need. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers who shared what they had to aid our community, and their kindness has brought hope and light into our lives when we needed it most. Bless each one of them, and may their generosity inspire us to lift each other up. Tonight, we ask for your guidance and wisdom for our city council, city manager, and everyone involved in making decisions that impact our community's future. May they act with compassion and resolve, finding ways to support each resident in the process of rebuilding. We ask that you strengthen our community spirit, helping us come together in kindness and generosity as neighbors and friends. Lord, in these challenging times, remind us of the bonds that hold us together. Help us to lift one another up and rebuild not only our homes, but our sense of unity and hope. Bless Bel Air Beach, its people, and its future. May we emerge from this season of storms stronger, more resilient, and ever grateful for your presence in our lives. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Now please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Frank Bankert.
Present.
Councilmember Lloyd Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Kim Shaw Elliott.
Present.
Councilmember Todd Harper.
Present.
Councilmember Jody Shirley.
Here.
Mayor Dave Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Kyle Riefler.
Here.
And City Attorney Jay Daniel.
Here. Thank you, Renee. Our first order of business is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion. Motion is made by Frank Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'm gonna give that, was that Harper? I'll give that one to Harper. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. Next, we have a presentation from the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, beginning with the monthly law enforcement report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Sergeant John Shield with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. I have this September stats. So for the month of September 2024, we had a total of 2 incidents within the city. Additionally, we've had 3 people arrested within the city, one being a misdemeanor loitering and prowling. I believe that's going to be related to the storm and the aftermath of such. One was a warrant arrest, and one was a traffic violation, misdemeanor traffic violation for driving with a suspended license. Additionally, we had 589 events within the city during the month of September, resulting in 715 units responding to those incidents. And they have been broken down for your stats in the emails that you received. We had 1 traffic crash within the city of Bel Air Beach. That was at the corner of Gulf Boulevard and 14th Street, with a total within the month of 117 total citations and including warnings and they are broken down to the right in the pie chart. That includes loading warnings, parking violations, traffic warnings, and traffic citations. And that's the stats for the month of September within the city. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Sergeant. Council, any questions? No? All right. Thank you for coming here tonight. I appreciate you presenting. All right, next up is the monthly code enforcement report. We'll go to the trunk here.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Congratulations to the new council mayors. I am Deputy Trump. I'm your code enforcement officer. In the essence of time, we attempted to put together both August and September. With that, I had 82 entries to present. Basically, there's an awful lot of things to go on. A lot of it had to do with storm-related issues and everything. We had 10 construction nuisances, which had to do everything from workers working on holidays to new docks with lights that were not proper and dumpsters. Other enforcements include hearing code violations, meetings, suspicious persons, feeding wild birds, alarm calls, dumpsters in the roadways, boats washed up on the roads. That was after the hurricane, obviously. Possible looting calls, assist citizens, and presenting flyers out to the citizens of the Bel Air Beach, attempting to help them through FEMA problems. I was able to get out to the beach and do 8 beach enforcements. Obviously, during the hurricane, they secured the equipment, so I had to go back and get the equipment, but we had a downtime, so we're getting back out there though. So a couple of dangerous structures. Those also included hazardous trees. We helped as much as I could to try and pull hazardous trees out of the roadways and get things back flowing slowly again. We're dealing with a couple of unmaintained pools. That's probably going to be a given with everything that's happened, and people are slowly getting their pools mitigated. They're slowly getting everything mitigated. It's going to be a process, but as long as everybody just is patient. I know we get a couple of calls because people or the pool companies are pumping the pools out into the yards and flowing into the streets. It's going to happen. The water's got to go somewhere. We're trying to check and make sure it's at least somewhat treated before they pump out the pools, and trying to take care of it that way. Vehicle and traffic stops, suspicious vehicles, and traffic control. Because the lights went out down here last week. Reference a transformer that blew up at Bel Air Bel Air Bluffs. So we did some traffic enforcement up there. Other than that, boats and pods in the yards, that has to do with an abandoned boat. Also one boat that was on a trailer that was taken care of. And then we had 6 high grass and weeds, which is relatively minor at this point. The only thing that I would like to conclude with is please, we are asking people, report suspicious activity. We are here. The sheriff's office will be there. I promise you we will respond. And we would rather come out and it be nothing than people don't call and just say, it's not that bad or whatever. Please call us. That's what we're here for. So other than that, it's just, please be diligent. Try and look for your unlicensed contractors. We don't want anybody scammed. The sheriff is big on unlicensed contractors and prosecuted them. So please double check. There's websites out there all over the place. Please double check and look for those unlicensed contractors, and please take your time to check the people that are coming out to work for you and help you with your repairs, and make sure that they are doing the job that they're supposed to. Any questions?
Thank you, Deputy. Council, any questions?
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
What is the current process as it relates to permits, especially during the storm? I mean, are permits still being issued, or have they had an expedited process? Is there an exception? How are permits being handled?
Permits are going to be issued. I'd like to refer that to the city manager because he handles most of the process there. I just kind of go back and enforce them a little bit more. But the city themselves handles more of the issuance of the permits themselves. So I'd probably refer that to the city manager.
And he will cover that in his report. Any other questions for Deputy Trump? I appreciate you working so hard during these trying times, and I'm glad you're here. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
we are here to help. And just for you, Mayor, I did bring a couple of special guests here tonight for you, because I know the question does come up quite a bit, especially with the derelict vessels. So I do have the sergeant and the corporal of the Marine unit as special guests for you tonight, and they'll be heard as soon as you guys are ready.
Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't have them on the agenda. I'm sorry? Oh, it did wind up on the agenda. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, sure, please come right on up. Sorry about that, gentlemen.
Good evening, I'm Sergeant Jake Viano with the Sheriff's Office Marine Unit, my corporal, Robert Mitchell. I understand that we may have a lot of questions about the derelict vessels, the process that we go through. So we want to make sure we give you our time and try to provide as much information as we can.
Great. Well,
The one to the left.
let's talk about the SS Minnow out there.
Actually, Corporal Mitchell they got the most information on that. He assumed the case as soon as it washed ashore.
So the estimated removal date that I can submit it to the county, which all Hurricane Helene and Milton boats are going to get contracted through the state because the county would not have the funds to remove all of the boats out of the county. Right now, the Marine unit has 37 open cases on top of probably 50 to 100 cases that FWC has. So we're going to be contracting to use grant money through the state. I can submit that boat for removal on November 20th. Then it goes to the state. I submit my report and all my photos to them. They do have an assigned contractor to do all of them, but I don't have a time frame once it goes to the state. So, and the vessel on the north side of the causeway, that vessel can be submitted for removal on December 2nd, and the one on the east side of the boat ramp is December 2nd as well.
The timelines, just for clarity, the timelines on those, the ones that are related to the hurricane itself, if we can determine that they become derelict because of the storm, because of a named storm, we are mandated to allow a 45-day waiting period before we're able to submit them. Anything prior to the storm or after the storm that's not part of Milton or Helene, then that's a 21-day waiting period. During that time, we make sure we seize the registration, they can transfer ownership, we identify who the owner is, we notify them via certified mail, and make sure that they've had notice. They have to show us that that the vessel is able to float, has propulsion, can steer. They go through a testing period with us. If they can pass that and it's no longer fits our derelict guidelines, then it's off our list. If it doesn't, they have until that 21 days or the 45 days, and then we submit it for removal.
So the removal process, is that a crane? Do you chop it up?
Yeah, we have a salvage company. The county, just to give you an idea of the funds that we're kind of restrained to, they only have about $150,000 for the removal process, which doesn't cover the full year. The sheriff has done a really good job of assuming that cost once they run out of funds. Because of the state's emergency management has now come up with the new funds for those two storms, which is going to help us out big time. And they do have a contractor, so we have a salvage company that comes out, they pull it to the dock. Once they get it up on the ramp over here, they'll trash it right there and dispose of it.
I would say overall, we're very lucky. We could have been in the situation that Treasure Island Causeway was in, which was an entire marina on the side of the road. So
Yes.
I feel like we're actually way ahead of the curve. Council, do you have any questions?
If you identify the owner of the vessel, aren't they responsible for costs?
Reimbursement, yeah, that's another legal process that we go through afterwards, but we do try to recover from that, yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, there's another vessel on Harrison Avenue, on the bridge there, that's still floating, it's just riding up and down the seawall. Getting worse.
Harrison Avenue.
Yeah, the north end of, is the last road going
Is that the
north.
one we spoke about? So that one is waiting for the insurance company. The insurance company told the vessel owner to leave it. They are contracting with the salvage company. The salvage companies are just completely overworked. We have salvage companies from out of state, out of the county. Everybody's here trying to make money and help out at the same time.
Yeah, the other process for removing these vessels is the owner has the ability, if we're able to determine who the owner is, a lot of these boats, like at trailer parks, people are living in them that don't own them. And it may be the third or fourth person that they've been allowed to stay on the boat, and then we got to track down the owners that are usually out of state. So that does take some time and a lot of legwork. But if we're able to identify an owner and they're wanting to sign it over, they don't want any more liability with it, they can sign it over to us and we can get it removed. But that's a process in and of itself to get that paperwork back and forth, especially if they're out of state.
So something like the one that I questioned, that one clearly just floated off someone's dock. It was maintained, it was a pretty well maintained boat. But the owner was told not to move it by their insurance company?
But the insurance company is working on it. That vessel was on a lift just north of that location near the condos. The lift broke during the storm, so the boat cannot be put back on the lift right now. So the insurance company is going to have to remove it from the waterway, and he's waiting on his insurance company to handle that.
Gotcha.
He has contacted the insurance company and opened a claim.
Okay, I would just request, now that the storms all came through and we're dealing with storm issues right now, but this has always been a hot button for me because I knew this day would come, that all of these derelict boats would wash up on our shore. And I continually asked that we put something in our code, we do something about the derelict boats, the liveaboards. Supposedly, they have to run on their own, there's all these criteria. I know none of them are that they all just dump overboard. Those boats never move out there. There's a lot of other issues with the liveaboards along our shores. And I would just ask that in 6 months we revisit this once we get the storm behind us and we start talking about how do we solve the issue with liveaboards in our jurisdiction.
So I can speak for the majority of these boats, especially anchored right here off your shore. Aside from the catamaran that showed up post-storm that's got the nice boat, the very well taken care of catamaran, I don't believe anybody is living on any of these boats. Nobody was living on this boat out there prior to the storm. And this vessel did pass one of our effective means of propulsion tests, which is defined by the state. Prior to the storm, we successfully passed the test. The vessel then sold. We do marine sanitation device checks. We have a dye tablet that we drop into their sanitation systems on the boat to ensure that it's not dumping overboard. For them to utilize whatever means they have and dump it overboard, we have to visually catch them in the act for that. So that's definitely a difficult one. We understand the frustration and we do everything we can, but we do have to catch them in the act for the sanitation device.
Well, I know, you mentioned this before, but in Key West, they have to have a receipt of proof of pump out weekly. And if they don't have that, they have to move their vessel.
Okay, we will look into that.
Yeah. So there are some other needs, but nothing important right at the moment because I know there's other things trying. But thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming tonight. I appreciate you being here.
You're welcome.
All right, next up is a presentation from Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District, but I did not see Chief Davidson. He is not here tonight, so we're just going to move right on to item number 4, which is the City Attorney Report. Jay Danio from Trash Danio is filling in tonight for Mr. Mora. Mr. Danio, you have the floor.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have anything specific to report, though I may, if I could ask you to come back to me after the city manager's report, because I know there's going to be some discussion about permits and storm response, and so I may fill in a gap or two from a legal perspective, if that's perfect, counsel.
That's what I was counting on. Thank you very much. So we'll move right on to item number 5, which is the City Manager Report. Mr. Riefler, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to brush through all the topics on the report, but the main one's going to be the hurricane recovery. But the Gulf Boulevard undergrounding project, we did have a meeting last week, and Duke Energy told me that their anticipated timeline right now to resume on the project is going to be January. So we'll keep in touch with that and make sure that their crews are available. The stormwater improvement project, now like I put, they pulled out before the storm, obviously removed their equipment, but as soon as we get the debris picked up and the streets clean enough, that they can resume, that we plan on calling them back to get that project rolling again. And they're anxious to come back and get back to work. So that I expect that to be coming up probably late this month. The code review services, we did finalize all the recommendations. That's just to the point now where we got to get it in ordinance form and in front of our planning and zoning board, but that's still underway.
Can I ask you something? Was there anything that we changed that was going to be more restrictive that we're going to lose now because of the hurricanes?
I have not heard of any moratorium that like the previous Hurricane Ian as of yet. We do have some more restrictive ordinances that could be affected. Yes. And we also do have some that are less restrictive that we're looking to get passed.
Do you have a estimated date as to when we're going to start working on those ordinances?
I'd like to bring it to the workshop or the next work session, if we plan on having one in November or December, at least get some of them in ordinance form to discuss the numbers that we're looking at and before we bring it to a first reading.
Okay.
We may want to look at those, even though we moved the look back to 1 year, we may want to change that now because we're going to go through a whole nother hurricane season before that look back comes back. Because that would go into effect with September 26th, the look back.
So
If you look back 1 year is what I'm saying.
that would have affected as soon as we read it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is now that the storm hit and people have claims, their claims would go 1 year prior to September 26th. So what I'm saying is that there's a storm that comes in June, July, or August, that's going to, whatever claims, you'll be doubling the claim.
The way I understand it is that the look back is specifically for the substantial improvement side of things. So,
And that's what I'm saying. So if you have a claim September 26th storm of 2024, and then there's another storm in July of 2025, those two claims will combine. Right?
but that would be substantial. That would be the damage side.
Yeah. So maybe we need to make zero look back. You know what I'm saying?
We could go to zero, so we currently have it at 1 year, and that would be if you have a permit issued, it would count. So say you did an improvement to your house, you had a permit issued on September 1st, then that permit was closed on, say, in November, it would remain on your balance as far as a substantial improvement all the way till the next year, September 1st. With substantial damage, it's assessed on what the value of your property was right before the storm hit, and then you're looking at all the repairs necessary to get back to that condition prior to the storm. So that is in itself a separate determination. So if you were to, in this case where Helene was flooded your house, and say you did your substantial damage assessment and everything, it came out that it was not substantially damaged. From there, you would apply for the permit of everything that needed to be repaired. And then that would be your balance for repair, and then you wouldn't be able to do any improvements on top of that until you got past the year.
That's my question. Maybe we need to take that 1 year out.
But that should not affect, so if you're deemed not substantially damaged, you repair your structure, inside of a year, another event comes and damages, that should not be cumulative.
It shouldn't be cumulative.
It should not.
and I believe that there's, even though it's not showing up in the appraiser's website, let's say that you had something done and it's showing a certain value, but it's not completely through yet. You can actually come back in and get reappraised by the county.
I talked to Mike Tweed. He gave me like 45 minutes of his time. He's a good guy. But every time you get reappraised, you're going to get retaxed, and that's why I'm trying to fit it all into that one little package.
I'm still not 100% convinced that that the zero look back is in the best interest of the entire city, and the reason why is because we may, even though it doesn't seem like we get any kind of a discount, or it could cause our insurance to actually go up for everyone in the city if we went to a zero look back. So what I'd like to do is get the facts and let's talk about them in the work session.
Yeah, because the other cities are talking about going to zero, and they brought up, what was that going to affect our discounts?
Right.
But there's been an NFIP lawsuit for 16 months because no one can show anybody where these discounts are supposed to be given. So I
And
think
that's
it's
how we got
pie in
to 1
the
year.
sky.
That's how we got to 1 year.
One other comment regarding the ordinances, if I may. And we had kept open an issue for landscaping, and I just want to preface this, that if we would consider making it amenable to more natural landscaping, because I think this last event has shown us what happens when you don't have anything to hold the soil. Most of the yards are now denuded because they've been exposed to salt water and plants that don't survive under saltwater conditions. So if we make our code more flexible to promote using natural landscaping, I think that's something we should consider.
Please continue, Mr. Richter.
Okay. So, moving on to the hurricane recovery, I've applied for both public assistance for both disasters. We had a meeting with FEMA and the state today just to go over the rough estimates of each category that we're looking at claiming damage on. One of the invoices came back, which was our the emergency debris removal we were doing prior to Hurricane Milton after Helene, and we came to about $310,000. That should be fully reimbursable from FEMA. We just need to get it in. So all this money has to come up front, paid by the city, and then it gets reimbursed. The goal is to get as much reimbursed as possible by following the FEMA rules. And right now, so we had, like I mentioned in the last meeting, which was virtual, we had an emergency, which was a group of many different small contractors pulling in machines to remove as much debris as possible before we got the winds from Hurricane Milton. And that would fall under, which was a protective measure for the storm Milton, which was actually Helene damage. But typically when you have a storm and you have to collect the debris from a single storm, it's done through contractors, through a system which we resumed after Hurricane Milton came through, which has been Phillips and Jordan, which is a contractor, and they were using the loader and the Bobcats originally to load it and take it to a debris management site and then track it and do everything that FEMA requires. Right now, that same company, Phillips and Jordan, is coming through with claw trucks, which the typical is they do one full pass and then they give a little bit of time for everyone to get their debris out, get it sorted correctly for the final pass, and that's currently what they're working on. We did have quite a bit of a mess over the weekend. I found out from the contractor today, it was just because they were using a truck that did not have the correct claw. It was more meant for vegetative debris, and they're collecting the C&D, and it was spilling all over the road. They did come back through after I notified them and cleaned up. But I will say with these FEMA debris contractors, they really are coming through just to grab the bulk of the debris. Their detailed cleanup is is a little lacking, but that's not really what their purpose is. So anyways, we do expect that this final pass of the debris collection by Phillips and Jordan will be complete by the end of next week. So we did put some messaging out there about, getting things how they want. They want to be able to see what the debris is, typically not in bags. We did have some different types of debris that was in bags that we were able to get pre-cleared. They're trying to do everything they can when they run into a situation that they do have things they can't see. They're working through Tetra Tech, which is a debris monitoring company. We're still trying to pick things up. It's easier if they can see it, but we're trying to get through one final pass and get as much as possible. After that is complete, we may have still, some houses that have some white goods. A lot of scrappers came through and picked things up. But if we do, after the debris haulers finish, have some things here and there, then we're just probably gonna have to take care of them as a city, through our regular waste pro operation. We are at the point now, though, where regular trash should be put out along with yard waste and picked up by Waste Pro. And if Waste Pro does not pick up, we need to know, because we gotta get them back on their regular routine.
Whenever you say regular yard waste, I see piles of vegetation everywhere. Is there another company that's picking that up?
Yes, the debris for the storm vegetation, which are the large piles, are getting picked up right now. That's on the final pass, because the first pass was strictly construction material, because there was so much of it. So they waited, and now they're doing the rest of the construction material and the vegetative.
Right.
On to the substantial damage, and this is kind of like the big topic of the last couple of weeks. When Helene came through, we had significant flooding. There were a lot of houses that got over 3 feet of water. There were some that got just over a foot. There were some that got inches. Since then, the first step was immediately after we had the county come through, and they did either a major or minor damage, which was determined by if it was over a foot of water or less than a foot of water. They measured water lines, and they made a quick GIS map to give a rough estimate to pass along to the state for funding purposes of how much damage incurred from the storm. After that, through a series of mission requests, we knew that we had to do a substantial damage inspections. We do not have this in-house staff to complete those, so we did reach out to the state through our web EOC requests, and requested additional aid to do substantial damage inspections. The county, because the county does our building inspection, also made requests, and what was decided is that we pooled all the state contractors underneath the county to do all the inspections. And what the first thing with the substantial damage is you have to go out, you have to do the inspections, you have to put it into the SDE, which is the substantial damage estimator. It's provided by FEMA. It's just a standardized way to take all the data that's collected, export it into a report that gives you kind of an overall if you were substantially damaged or not. The value of the structure they use is the property appraiser, 50% right from the website, and then they just do it on a standardized method to see which houses come back as reported substantially damaged. The county has done all the inspections, unincorporated and for all municipalities, and they have the data. But right now, they are inputting that data into the estimator tool, and when they export that and give it to us, it's going to provide us with the addresses that took on water, and it's either going to say that they are substantially damaged, so they got over 50% by our ordinance, of damage, or they're under that and they're not substantially damaged. So when we get that, our job as the floodplain administrator for our community is what we have to send the letters out to the houses that are substantially damaged. I'll give them notice that they've been found substantially damaged on the initial review. After that, there will be a process of a reevaluation or an appeal, and that's when we drill down a little deeper, and you're, per our ordinance, allowed to use private appraisal to get a higher value on the structure side. And then since when the inspectors came through and did the estimates, it was just kind of a quick look over, plugging it into a tool. This is where the homeowner is going to list out every single cost that needs to go back into the structure to make it back to what it was before the storm. So that's a little bit longer of a process, but from what I've been last told by the county is to get our initial reports and that data back from the county, we're looking at, they told me 3 weeks, which, we have people in line that are trying to get permits to rebuild their house, and we understand the frustration. So since then, I actually had a call before this meeting with Tetra Tech, and I'm going to get a quote for them to come in and do, which we have roughly about 24 permits in right now that are, they're over a foot of water, so we know that they need to be inspected, and we need to know if they're substantially damaged or not. So Tetra Tech, I'm trying to get them to come in ahead of this so that we can they'll first do their own inspections, they'll put it through the estimator, we'll get the determinations for this group of people seeking permits, and then from there, if they are substantially damaged, then they'll even do the evaluation of the cost breakdown. So I expect that tomorrow, but they felt like they could get started within a week. So that's what I have right now to try and speed this process up. We do understand, we're trying, anybody who had less than 12 inches of water would consider minor damage. We adopted a policy that the county is using, which is, it's minor damage, we know it's not substantially damaged, so we're putting it through. So that the minor damage, less than a foot of water, structures can start repairing. So we're caught up right now on kind of the waiting for this substantial damage process. But I feel with Tetra Tech, we should be at least push it on a little faster than having to wait for the county's export.
Now, is there a list available somewhere that shows above, below, or are we still waiting on a report from the county with the?
So we have access to the raw data through the GIS mapping system. So we can see some of the initial estimated numbers, what the county estimated the water levels to be at. That is based on the notion that we had 8 feet above sea level throughout the city. In some cases, it's accurate. In other cases, water did not, like the water level was on the outside of the house, did not reach that level on the inside of the house. So I have had cases where the water level on the outside of the house said that they got more than a foot of water, but I have pictures that they've shown me with tape that showed the water did not reach over a foot. So I actually, I have to file all this away, but that to me was evidence that they did not get that much water, so I knew it was minor damage and I put a permit through. So my goal is to get Tetra Tech in here to get these permits moving so that we don't have to delay. Hopefully, the county comes in with their reporting. At that point, I'll still have to do all the substantial damage letters that qualify. And then at some point, the state is providing contractors to pick up and help with the reevaluations and the closer inspections to determinations. So at some point that will come in. I just am not comfortable right now waiting on the county and waiting on the state aid to come in.
Now, people that, for the people that were 2, 3, 4 feet deep in water, and they look on the county appraiser's website, and they see that really low number, is there anything, what would you recommend that they do?
If they see a very low number, the property appraiser has put links on the main page to get an updated assessment of the property. So if the last assessment they put out, where it was based on the information they had, what was in that house, and the quality of and the construction of the house as of January 1 this year. If there are things that have been added to the house that the property appraiser does not know of, they have a report that you can email specific pictures that they have directions for to get an updated value, which would be, what they'll do is calculate it right before the storm hit. So they have that option. The other option will be the private assessment, or private appraisal, because our code still leaves open for a private appraisal, but it has to be done specifically for substantial improvement, substantial damage evaluation. There's a checklist, but it still, for the most part, should provide a higher value than what is listed on the property appraiser website.
Okay. I'm going to pause you for a minute. Council, do you have any questions at this point?
Will that assessment then increase the property tax?
Chances are, if you tell the property appraiser things that they did not know existed, yes.
And is there a process for those?
Member Elliott, can you please speak into your microphone?
Oh, excuse me. Is there a process for those who did not receive a finding of substantial damage?
Okay, so if we get the numbers back and you come out by the estimator tool below 50% in damage, then you will be non-substantially damaged. We will send out letters indicating that. And then at that point, you pass the substantial damage determination. Then we still need to have the permit come in. You're going to put everything you're doing, and we just track it as just work being done on the property.
And the reason why I say that is under the flood insurance policies, there is a provision for increased cost of compliance, which allows an additional coverage if the home has been substantially damaged. And so some people may want that coverage, and so if it's been found to not be substantially damaged and they want to appeal that in some process, how does that work?
That's the first time I was asked about appealing to be substantially damaged. I will find that out. I do not know. But I know what you're talking about.
I think you're talking about the ICC provision,
Yes.
the 30,000, and that's to raise your house regardless if it's substantially damaged or not.
That's
You
correct.
can get to 30,000.
No, it has to be a city finding of substantial damage.
I believe, as I was talking to Mike, that I think if you're gonna raise the house and you had flood damage, you can get that 30,000, it's in your policy.
My understanding is.
I'll
that
check
we have a
into it.
city
All right,
finding.
let's
Yeah.
not get into an argument. What we can do is ask the city manager to find out if possible, and then let everyone know what his findings are.
I just had one question for you. A lot of people are asking about FEMA grant money, and does the city participate in that program? And I'm telling a lot of people, don't count on that money being dumped in your hands in the next couple of months, couple of years it could take. You still have Katrina that's not settled. I think that was in 2005. You have Sandy in New Jersey in 2014. That still isn't settled. So they just issued some money up in New Jersey for raising houses. So, but does the city participate?
Yes, the city participates in those programs. You're right, it is on an annual grant cycle. I was told that all applications for these disasters won't be accepted until spring.
Yeah.
It is not a quick process, so the expectation is that if you are substantially damaged and you're waiting for some kind of funding, that you you could be living in that structure for a period of time if you're moving forward with a grant. It could take some time.
Is there any way we could probably get a meeting with some people to explain this? Because a lot of people are cloudy about this, to say the least. And
Yes.
I think it would appease a lot of people's minds if we could get a meeting in here. I don't know if you bring a FEMA rep to explain the grant program.
I will let you know that we tried to get FEMA in here. They've done a lot of these town halls. The reason why that they rejected ours is because the county refused to come.
Yeah, well, I'm just talking about the grant program.
Okay, yeah, that's something else.
Yeah. I understand, yeah.
So I did make a request for that, so they do have it at the state level.
Okay.
So I think we're kind of trying to get past this substantial damage.
And that would be like, what's that, Afghan or?
That would, well, it would be FEMA and then the state, because the state gets the money and then the state decides how it gets allocated. But again, there's a lot, we first need to kind of find out how much funding is going to be available and how they're going to qualify who gets those grants. I've heard in discussion that, sometimes there's some political efforts too to get more money contributed depending on the disaster, but all that is in the future.
Mr. Roberts, you had a question?
I did. A couple of things. So one just came up. Did any of the other town hall meetings take place where the county did participate on the barrier island?
I don't think I've seen one yet, no, because they're holding all the data, and I think that ultimately they don't want to reveal it publicly because ultimately it comes back to the individual municipalities, and it's up to them to be the revealer of bad news. Unfortunately, that's my take on it, and so they're just serving as nothing more than a data collector, and they're not really wanting to share how they reach their determination of whether you were substantially damaged or not.
And that's a great lead-in. Today I had a couple of gentlemen on my street that came by. I don't know if you were aware of that, Kyle, that were representing the county. I asked them a lot of questions just to verify, in fact, they were from the county. So I said, so why are you here? What are you looking for? And what they wanted to know was approximately where was the water line on my house. So I had a picture of the trash line, and I showed him that. But I didn't get any good, warm, fuzzy feelings on the data that he had collected. When he saw that line, all he did was say, okay, I'm going to measure down from that mark on your front door down to the level of your porch. And I said, so what are you trying to determine again? Are you trying to determine what was the level of water that potentially got into my house? Because what you just did not prove anything. Because I had sandbags and visqueen, and I don't care where the trash line was, that's not the level of the water in my house. But he didn't seem very inspired to try to get anything except a number to say, okay, I've got this number and now I'm going back with it. So just letting you know that it did occur. On a more positive note, I was talking to my insurance adjuster, and I know everybody may not necessarily have insurance, so this information may not affect you. But the adjuster told me that when they complete all of the numbers and everything that they calculate, they submit, one of the things they submit is the total value of your home structure, that if a wave came along and just washed it away, that's included in the paperwork submittal that they turn in. So that value could be used, I believe, especially if it's higher than what the county has on their database. We could ask if we could use that in addition to or in lieu of getting a private property appraiser to come in and have to pay for that. So I think we could probably maybe talk to the county and say if we have that information
what did the adjuster, and they're pretty confident, and they're comfortable with the value that they're submitting, and I'm confident it's going to be higher, much higher than the number that the county has. That would help the 50%.
I talked to Mike Twitty about that.
Okay.
And I said, and he goes, well, you're talking replacement value, and we're talking substantial damage. I said, well, I was forced to increase my flood insurance to $250,000 over the Citizens enactment in 2021 or whatever. So I had to carry $500,000 worth of structure value for my insurance. And he goes, yeah. I said, so are you telling me my house is maybe only worth, this house is worth $70,000, this house is worth $200,000? So you made me buy more insurance than I needed? Is that insurance fraud? I mean, there is so much unclear information, and he says we really don't know what we're doing yet. I mean, and I'm glad these people don't work for NASA, because nobody would come back, you know?
All right, let's move on to, do you have any questions, Mr. Harper?
No, no.
Ms. Shirley?
I think just more a statement based on some of the things that I'm listening to is that the whole system is flawed, because if we're basing it on this appraised value, our insurance has this replacement value. Even the property appraiser is saying that's all based on replacement value. Well, that's what everyone's trying to do, is replace their home.
Yeah.
So I think we need to get some good advice here to help the residents.
I agree. All right, Mr. Danio, would you like to chime in before I...
First on Councilor Shirley's definition, I know that folks out there, and I've been up and down the beaches and working on them, I know that folks want answers and they want clarity and they want certainty. But Councilor Shirley really just hit the nail on the head. It's going to be very, very difficult to obtain that. These are systems, a system, a large, bureaucratic, messy system that is managed by bureaucratic folks who don't live in Bel Air Beach, right? They don't share the same interests as people in Bel Air Beach. Complicating matters further is that when Hurricane Ian came through Lee County in that area recently, FEMA took a very hard line, and is continuing to take a very hard line in the local jurisdictions, including the counties and the cities and towns, application of their own floodplain management ordinances and of the application of the substantial damage rules. And there are some competing interests here. You guys are in really, really good shape. You just got a very, very thorough explanation of where you are and what needs to happen and the timeline upon which we hope it would, you all hope it would happen. I know that if your property is potentially going to be substantially damaged, you want to know that today. But that's not going to happen. I would really counsel and urge as much patience and grace as we can all possibly muster in these very, very difficult circumstances, because there are multiple levels of government at work here. And very candidly, the city's role here is comparatively very small. You all have a good staff. You all are doing the things that need to be done in order to move this process forward, but there is no circumstance where it's going to move as quickly as you would like, or your residents or business owners would like. And I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings in that fashion, but again, a good 95 to 90% of that is really outside the purview of the city of Bel Air Beach and the things that it can do. Because you have these competing interests, right? You all as a council, you want to help your residents, which we understand. You also want to look forward into the future, because these storms are going to happen again, right? So what is your job? You don't want to put yourself in a position where you're jeopardizing the city's participation in FIP at all, right? I don't want a baseline. Assuming you can stay in the program with good application and execution of your floodplain management plans, then you don't want to sacrifice rating under the community rating system, because that hurts your residents as well. So you have these sort of 30,000-foot views, which don't really translate well to the bottom line folks who want a permit to get back in their home. If you'll permit me to say, Your city manager has a really good handle on this. I've seen it in other places. It's not going quite as smoothly there. Stick with the process, and again, afford each other and your elected officials, your staff, your residents some patience and some grace. I know that's not especially comforting to hear. You're going to get some competing information. You're going to get elected officials, bureaucrats who tell you stuff that may not be exactly true. Could I use the insurance replacement value? Is it going to count? I can anticipate there's going to be a great many appeals on the substantial damage determinations. I don't know how those will come out. I've never been involved in one, but I guess we're all going to find out together. And I wish all of the residents of Bel Air Beach the best of luck in doing that, and continue forward as you have with a great deal of unity and courage. From a legal perspective, we'll support you as much as we can, understanding that a lot of the processes outside of City of Bel Air Beach's purview.
Thank you. Mr. Riefler, would you like to continue, please, sir?
Yes, ma'am. So again, we are going to get a quote to get some of these permits moving forward as fast as possible, and then with the expectation that the state is going to bring in some contract employees to assist us with the rest of the review process. Just to cover some other things that are going on with the recovery process, we do have state contractors, which is LTS. It's on a state mission. Those are the contractors. They have a large loader and 5 dump trucks. They've been working in the beach accesses, clearing out sand. They are also setting up a sand sifting operation on the beach. If you've seen any of the trucks on the beach, the idea is that we have the state contractors approved for 60 days, and we have a lot of sand that was put back on the beach that has debris in it. It wasn't completely clean. The county's been doing their own sand operation at Sandkey Park. They're planning on closing it down in about a week, but we're fortunate enough to have the equipment that's coming out to us so that they can just move the sand around, clean it, and then trash the debris. So working on that, and then they are also going to do, which was handed down through the FEMA guidance, we're allotted one pass on the commercial properties, which is our multifamily properties. They're deemed commercial by FEMA. So we are allowed to do one pass of debris pickup, given the situation. So the LTS state contractors are going to do that pass. We're in the process right now just getting some right of entry forms done. But that should help clean up Golf Boulevard significantly. And we'll also get the rest of that sand to get back on our beach. I believe that covers everything.
Do you know when the beaches will be open?
Well, the beaches are not officially closed. We did get the overwalks, the boardwalks that we did have those all cleared out. Right now, those sidewalks that give you access to the beach, there's enough sand where you can just step off the seawall.
How about like from 1st to 19th Street?
The Bel Air Shore accesses, I do not have a date. I know that they are in the process of getting a claim for their gates. Like I said, we've cleared out the large amounts of sand and debris and some of the trees that went down in there. The seawalls and sidewalk are severely undermined. That I need some more guidance from the council because I don't know exactly how we're going to split the responsibility for those seawalls, but they would need to start with some kind of evaluation from an engineer.
Any other questions or comments for the city manager?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, you talked about the commercial properties getting debris pickup. What is going to happen with the residual material that stands currently on Golf Boulevard? That, a lot of the debris in some of those areas have been picked up, and there's just loose debris all over the place that, I mean, I know it's back to the property owner, but are you working with the condo associations to get them to have their maintenance people work on cleaning that up? What happens?
I haven't gotten to that step yet, but there's gonna have to be some communication, up front to see what they can do about that type of debris. We're running into the same issue with a lot of the single-family homes as well, because when they do come through, it's not a perfect cleanup. You know, there's a lot of small pieces. So I guess my plan is as that debris gets picked up, you know, having conversations on how we're going to get it cleaned the rest of the way.
I mean, I would think it's clear the single-family homes should do their own cleanup, but, you know, when you get a condo, I don't know who that responsibility falls back on, so I guess it would be the association.
Should still be the whole property that's responsible. And there's a lot of condos that actually did get their debris hauled away. They took care of it, so.
Anyone else? No. Mr. Reefer, I am going to call on you again after citizen comments, but before we do citizen comments, I'd like to have the city clerk report, and then I'll explain to the citizens how we're going to handle this. That being said, Renee, you're up.
I have nothing further to report.
Oh, come on. All right, so now we're going to move to citizen comments. What we're going to do is we're going to do the same. It's not a back and forth conversation. You're addressing the council. I've asked the city manager to take notes, write down anything that he believes that he can help you with. After citizen comments are closed, we'll go back to the city manager and let him try to answer your questions. All right, but again, it's not a back and forth. We'll be here forever, and I think he's given you most of the information that he has already, but there may be something that you have to offer that he's not considered or has brought up. So if any citizen would like to address the council about a topic not already on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be called on. We ask that you limit your time to 3 minutes. And remember to direct all questions and comments to the council. And just remember the city manager is listening. If any council member would like to respond to citizen comments, we ask that you hold your comments until the end of the meeting. Would any citizen like to address the council about a topic not already on tonight's agenda? Wow. Well, yes, sir. Please come up to the podium, give us your name and address, and
Hi, my name is Fritz Will, 905 Harbor Drive. And I don't know what you meant with not on the agenda.
well, I will respond to that question. There is no topic about hurricane on tonight's agenda.
Oh.
So feel free to ask any question you like.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Kyle for his work he's doing. I know that we are all overwhelmed. I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm built up. And I feel sorry for everyone when I look down 9th Street, including Kim's house. I just like to comment, 9th Street is, I have the feeling, not a very important street because it's very, very dirty. I know that Kyle tried to clean the street, but all this dust is contaminated, probably with asbestos and sewage. And I felt sorry for the driver who actually rode on the broom because he must have gotten sick. It did not help much. My wife actually cleaned the circle in front of the house. And we don't mind to participate, but something has to be done to clean up all this contaminated dirt. Also, collection of the brush and the waste, and you mentioned it, so you're working on it. It would be nice to have some kind of a schedule, so when I talk to the few neighbors who still live there, I think 3 of us who live there, all the other ones are gone. We really don't know what's happening because there is no schedule. If we would know, 9th Street would be cleaned then and then, or some kind of an idea where we are, we would probably feel a lot better. Then 9th Street is in the process of being rebuilt, the curbs and the asphalt. Would also be good to know if there's some kind of a schedule to finish that job. And then that brings me to the pump issue for the stormwater that we were talking about. Also, a schedule will be very, very helpful, so we know where we are going. Then one little comment, I don't know if it's possible for the city to waive the 50% rule for the people who are have issues with that. Just think about it. It's one last thing. That's it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Will. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Dan Freitag. I live at 120 Alina Drive. I was one of the fortunate ones that really didn't get that much water in my house at all, thank God. I feel sorry for the people that have actually got their house wiped out. I mean, I've been all up and down the beach. I've lived in this town now where my family's been here since the 60s, and we've seen a lot of changes. One thing I wanted to bring to everybody's attention, that I feel like everybody's overwhelmed. I feel like FEMA's not really going to do that much for us. I think it's our city to do whatever we have to stick together as a strong team here and figure out ways how to help each other out. I've seen my neighbors where I pulled out debris out of their house because they got 2-3 feet of water in there, and I've expressed to them truly that they cannot live in this type of environment where there's water in there. And from doing many and many rehabs and build outs on properties, I feel like a lot of people in our community throughout this whole area of Florida here has been taken advantage by a lot of contractors out there. I'm not saying they're not wrong, but I know for a fact that Serpro was out right across the street from me, and they charged them over $40,000 just to take drywall out and also move tile. Now, I know from doing this for years, I mean, I'm talking about decades, it does not cost that much to take that in. Now, granted, I know for a fact these are bigger companies that expect to do this because we're all in this mode of fear and don't know what to do. But honestly, there is no reason why we have to be taken advantage of. I can guarantee I can go down to any Home Depot, and these are places to take that. You can get yourself a meter that will actually tell you how much water has been in your house. And granted, I can't express myself for people that have actually lost all of their house, but I know the ones that I've seen that got 2-3 feet of water and they have to take all the drywall out. I've done that for years. And I'm not trying to promote myself in any form or fashion. I'm trying to make people understand here. A lot of people are overwhelmed, they're undereducated, and I honestly feel like FEMA is not going to do that much. They already got so much out there. I don't know if you ever seen anybody know about North Carolina. I went through Helene, all right? Then I had to go rescue my father who's 94 up in North Carolina. Normally it takes me about 11.5 hours. It took me 16 hours to get him. They had helicopters go in there and take them out. Roads of devastation. We think we're bad, it's not as bad. All right? But the thing I'm trying to say is that if we all stick tight, we don't get upset, we don't, freak out, and we actually go out and do diligence on getting the right contractors out. I want to expect that people should be licensed, but let's be honest, but let's be smart about that. All right? The other thing I was going to quickly say is that why do we put up scenario dumpsters out here, these big dumpsters, instead of dumping it to the street? We should have people dump them, they come in, take them off, and then bring them back in. I think we would have had a hell of a lot less stuff to do here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Freitag. Anyone else? Yes.
Hello, I'm Joanne Slack. I live at 2530 Hibiscus Drive.
I'm
West.
sorry, what's your last name again?
Slack.
Slack.
And I have two questions. If the city manager could just explain a little bit clearer about the substantial damage determination is one part, if I understood correctly, and then if that's substantial damage, we can't do anything but tear it down and build? Or does the 50-50 rule come in to repair substantial damage? So if you could address that when you speak again. And then I had probably over 12 inches of water, and then I had this on my door that tells me that they inspected the inside and the outside, and that I can live there and occupy it. And so if you could explain what this means too. I'm new to Bel Air Beach, and so I'm very confused about what to do or not to do, and how long do we wait for a decision? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Slack. Any others? No? All right. Citizen comments are now closed. Mr. Reefer, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, Mayor. I will work on getting somewhat better of a schedule for the debris pickup, but it is difficult with the debris contractors. They kind of switch every day with how much equipment they're using and where they're going, but we will try to. The last I heard is they had claw trucks that moved up to about 7th Street, so I imagine that they're getting close to 9th Street and they're trying to close out the southern portion of the city first. But I will try to get a schedule for the rest of that debris cleanup. And then after that debris cleanup, we're going to bring street sweepers back out. We're going to do everything we can to get that dust and dirt up off the street. It was a lot of it. Our first attempt was to use a broom tractor, mainly to break up the hard, crusty stuff that the sweeper may not have grabbed. It did turn out to be quite a mess, and we pulled back on that idea afterwards. But yeah, that's where we are as far as the 9th Street. But our intention is to get the finer stuff sucked up eventually after we get done with the larger debris. And then, like I said, the contractor is anxious to come back in and resume the project they were working on. They left off on 9th Street, so I'm anticipating that we get them remobilized in November, in a couple weeks or so. There was a comment about the debris dumpsters. The way the contracts were set up, we piggybacked a county contract for debris hauling. They kind of have a system, I don't know if it's based on efficiency for why they come through with loaders and dump trucks and then follow up with claw trucks. But the way that they do it is kind of how they do it everywhere in the country when there's a large amount of debris. So it is kind of a gross just way to make an impact, but it does have its downsides. Like I said, there's been quite a mess in some areas. I could look into something like that in the future. That's kind of the reason they do it the way they do, though, is that it's all pre-contracted and that's how it's handled.
Let me add on about the dumpsters on each of the streets. You and I had that conversation, and there were many complications that prevented us from doing it. Number one, we were afraid that people would put large furniture, big items into the dumpster. Also, if everyone remembers, everyone went into mitigation mode simultaneously. And that meant you could not drive down a street without having to maneuver around multiple vehicles. They were parked on both sides, and we felt that if there was a dumpster in the street, we would have created more of a hazard because electricity was coming up and fires were starting everywhere, and we just didn't feel that it was safe. And then the last option was to actually place it in someone's driveway or on their property. And we didn't really think that that was going to work either because, again, everyone was trying to mitigate, and the last thing that they would want is a giant dumpster in their property. So we did actually consider that, but it wasn't a viable solution at the time. Mr. Riefler?
Okay. There was a comment about waiving the 50% rule. That is part of our ordinance, but that is written into our ordinance as part of our community participating in the National Flood Insurance Program. So that is required by FEMA. So it's not something we can opt out of that would jeopardize our participation in the flood insurance program, which in turn wouldn't allow anybody in the city to be able to get flood insurance. And one of the bigger factors is it would affect our future grant funding and just disaster funding. So I think that would be one of the scariest impacts of not following the rules would be to not get the disaster aid and reimbursement that we're looking to collect for all the cleanup we had to do. And then with the substantial damage determinations, the premise, like the idea behind substantial damage is that if a home is on grade and is an older home, that when the so-called statistical 100-year storm, which this flood qualified as, comes through, it does, if the property is damaged over 50%, that's the line. The idea is to mitigate that structure, to prevent it from being flooded like that again. And then the options are, so if you are determined substantially damaged, your options are to bring it up to code, which would involve primarily elevating your first living floor above the base flood elevation. And that in turn will mitigate flooding, obviously, because some of the higher built homes, the previous speaker was thankful for, it does well in these storms when you build up, because when the water comes up, it's a lot less damage. So that's the idea behind it, but it is a hard reality to face when you go so long in this community and you haven't had any major flooding, and then all of a sudden we get a storm that is a 100-year storm and causes that much damage. So it's building up. The other option is demolition or relocation, which they're all not great options, but that is the substantial damage process. But again, if you do get a letter of determination from our estimated data that comes back from the county, there is a reevaluation appeal process. It doesn't mean it's a certainty that structure is substantially damaged. We'll work through closer inspections. There will be some that are going to be substantially damaged, and we'll work through the process. The question on the habitable placard that was found on the doors, that came from the Pinellas County Building Department, and when they went through on their initial inspections, they were putting those on the door to indicate that structure could be lived in during this interim time that we're doing these determinations. So that was the intention, and if it wasn't habitable, it would have been severely damaged so badly from the storm that it would have to be condemned and no one could live in it temporarily. That was the idea of why they were putting it. I thought it led to more confusion, but that's what that placard meant.
Council, do you have any comments or questions for the city manager this round?
Just on that placard, that was put up, I think they did that Saturday night or Saturday evening. They had them all up there by Sunday. And if you had questions, there was a phone number to call. They were closed till Thursday. And then try to get through on Thursday.
That figures.
Anyone else?
Kyle, just for clarification, so you're saying they chose to put up 10 habitable signs versus 1 condemned sign?
Oh, no, I was just trying, the other example, they were trying to show what structures you were still habitable by putting those placards up, but we did not have any condemned structures in Bel Air Beach.
So there's really no reason for the placards at all?
That's not necessarily true. I think that they had good intentions. There was another placard that they were installing on homes that you could tell they were severely flooded, no one was home, nothing had been open, and they were clear warning signs of beware if you enter this home. I looked at the first, I saw it posted on social media, and the first thing I said, because someone was complaining that it looked bad, and I said, no, I think that's actually a good thing. It means you've got a place to stay for a while until you get this figured all out. It was confusing for sure. Anything else? All right, well, let's move on to the consent agenda then. This is for items 8 through 11. This is for approval of the September 18th, 2024 first budget public hearing meeting minutes. Approval of the September 18th, 2024 final budget public hearing meeting minutes. Approval of the September 18th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes. And approval of the October 8th, 2024 Emergency City Council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as written and presented.
Motion is made by Frank Banker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lloyd Roberts. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda passes. All right, now we are on to the regular agenda. This is item number 12, consideration of resolution 2024-12. Mr. Danio, you are up.
Mr. Mayor, Resolution 2024-12, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, authorizing extensions of the local state of emergency due to Hurricane Helene, providing for powers to adequately respond to a disaster, providing for severability and an effective date. Mr. Mayor and Council, your code and state statute permits you to declare local states of emergency in order to do what you've been discussing here most of the evening, including and multiple other functions of government. The statutes say that though once you proclaim it, you must renew it every 7 days, and that's what this resolution is intended and does do.
Thank you, Mr. Danio. Would any citizen like to comment on this resolution? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I need a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
I'm going to give that one to Kim Shaw Elliott. Do I have a second? Second by Frank Banker. Ms. Elliott Shaw Elliott, I'm sorry, you have the floor.
Thank you. I think it's obvious that we need to extend the state of emergency, and so that will be extended to, where's the date? I'm sorry.
I think you just need to approve the resolution. That will be an official motion.
Okay. Thank you. I think it's very important that we extend the state of emergency and therefore support this motion.
All right, any other comments? No? All right, so this is to approve resolution 2024-12. Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Banker?
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Elliott?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
And Mayor Gaddis?
Aye, so the resolution passes unanimously. All right, we're on to item number 13, consideration of resolution 2024-13. Mr. Danio, would you please read the resolution?
Yes, so Resolution 2024-13, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, authorizing extensions of the local state of emergency due to Hurricane Milton, providing for powers to adequately respond to a disaster, providing for severability and an effective date. This is simply the same resolution relative to Hurricane Milton. It is not clear in the law whether one proclamation of emergency will sufficiently cover the other, but there is no need to find out. That's why this is before you.
Absolutely. Would any citizen like to comment on this resolution? All right, citizen comments are closed. I need a motion from the council. Motion by Frank Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lloyd Roberts. Mr. Baker, do you have the floor?
It is as it's written, and it's already been approved before. We should reapprove.
Any other comments? All right, this is to approve resolution 2024-13. Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Elliott?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
And Mayor Dave Gaddis.
Aye. The resolution passes unanimously. We are now on to item number 14, consideration of resolution 2024-14. Mr. Danio.
Resolution 2024-14, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, authorizing signatures which are to appear for all city check and draft writing and instructing any financial institution to accept any certified copy of this resolution as evidence of legal authority over city financial accounts, resolving conflicts herewith and establishing an effective date. This resolution, as its term suggests, is intended to reflect the recent change in the composition of the council and to align financial authority with that composition.
Thank you, Mr. Danio. Would any citizen like to comment on this resolution? Citizen comments are now closed. Council, I need a motion to approve resolution 2024-14.
So moved.
I'm going to give that one to Shaw Elliott and the second to Frank Baker. Kim, you're up.
It's very important for us to be able to continue our banking business and transactions, and therefore it's been expanded for the number of authorized people to reflect the current membership of the council.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? All right. This is to approve resolution 2024-14. Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Elliott?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis?
Aye. The resolution passes unanimously. And now we are on to item number 15. This is for consideration of approving fiscal year 2024 year-end budget adjustments. Mr. Reefer, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. So these are the year-end adjustments to the previous year 2024 budget. This memo was sent by Ms. Guadagnoli. She is our financial consultant, works with Andrew Tess, and she has summarized the adjustments that need to be made in the descriptions, and also provided backup material to see each line item.
All right. Let's go to the citizens for comments. Anyone like to speak on this topic? All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I'm going to need a motion to approve fiscal year 2024 year-end budget adjustments.
Motion.
Motion is made by Frank Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll give that one to Roberts. Mr. Baker, you're up.
I believe the document in front of us speaks for itself. It's more like a housekeeping item. I believe it should be approved.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Any other comments on this topic? No? All right. This is to approve fiscal year 2024 year-end budget adjustments. Renee, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Elliott?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
And Mayor Gaddis?
Aye. So the budget amendments are approved unanimously. Now we are on to item number 16, consideration of awarding project bid B24-01A to March Marine Construction Company for the South Park seawall replacement. Mr. Reefer, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the South Park seawall. It's our seawall that is in most need of repair at this point. We bid the project out originally and received bids in August. And the bids that came back were very high, where it was outside of our estimated budget, and we decided, since we only bid it on Demand Star, that we'd try a rebid. for the same project, pass it around to more local contractors, and also put it on to DemandStar to provide that the same contractors could bid on it. So the second time we received bids in September, and they did come in lower. And I've included the 3 bids that came in. March Marine Construction was the lowest bid for the project, and it was reviewed by our consulting company, which is the J. Foster Consulting, who also did the design plans for the seawall. And they found that they're a credible company, and that they had the correct experience for this type of project. So they recommended that this lowest bidder get awarded, and that is my recommendation. This is kind of an outside project that we've known we needed to get scheduled, and I'd like to award it. The funding that is available for this in this year's budget was $130. So in order to award this bid, we're going to have to bring in an additional $28,000, which will be required from reserves. That does include the contingency, so it may not spend all that money for the project.
Thank you, Mr. Reefler. Let's go to the citizens for comments on the seawall project. All right, citizen comments are now closed. Council, I need a motion to award the seawall project to March Marine Construction.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Roberts and seconded by Shaw Elliott. Ms. Roberts.
Jody, that was.
Oh, Jody, I'm sorry. The speaker over my head, I couldn't tell. All right, Mr. Roberts, you're up.
Yeah, I think the fact that our city manager supports this, and I would like to thank you, Kyle, for going out a second time, because it substantially saved the city a significant amount of money, which is always good. Have you had any experience or heard any other towns on our Berry Island here that may have used March Marine?
Not in the immediate the county, smaller cities, but we did have some other projects that were very similar to this size seawall and the reconstruction.
Okay.
Which I can share with you.
Good. Yeah, so I think it's a good number based on the other comparative bids, and we should move forward.
Any other comments?
I have one. It seems as though their bid is significantly less than the others, other than one that was another 30,000 more. So is that something of concern?
No, I thought that they were close enough. But usually we see, some variation in the pricing. I think with the when you look at that first bid that went out, they were all significantly higher. I don't know if seawall companies have a lot of work, just how much business they have out there. If they bid a little higher to make it worthwhile to get awarded that project.
Right. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Clarification, so the first bid and the second bid were identical, just different prices came back?
Yes. Well, there was one slight change. We did open it up to, instead of just only DemandStar submission, we did open up the bring package in to the building in hopes that, like maybe some of the contractors that didn't have, memberships to DemandStar or enrolled in it, they would just choose that option.
And is March Marine and DemandStar?
They actually, all these did submit to DemandStar.
Anyone else? No. All right. So this is to award the South Park Seawall project to March Marine Construction. We could do an all in favor, but I'm gonna, because it's a large value, I'm gonna do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Bangert?
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Elliott?
Yes.
Councilmember Harper?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
Aye.
And Mayor Gaddis?
Aye. So the South Park seawall replacement is awarded to March Marine Construction unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, now we are on to item number 17. This is for consideration of approval of a memorandum of understanding with Pinellas County for a vulnerability assessment. City Manager Reefler.
Thank you, Mayor. So this has been in discussion for about 6 months now, and Pinellas County has already done a vulnerability study, and part of the Resilient Florida program is to be considered for future funding. You need to go through this process of doing a vulnerability study. It has different criteria. You know, you have to measure against, which is a lot, and has to do with the sea level rise. And the county has reached out to the smaller municipalities because they are doing another vulnerability study follow-up, and they extended the same contractor, which is HDR Incorporated, who they've had a good experience with, but they will continue working under their contract to do our vulnerability study by the same scope of work that they're doing theirs. And I feel confident in this just because they've had one go around at it already. They're kind of fine tuning what they're going to find in the county, and they have a good relationship with the contractors. So we should be able to collect our data from our beach and be able to have what we need for future funding for the Resilient Florida program. I have included the MOU, which is not a legally binding contract, and then their amendment to their original agreement for the second vulnerability study, and the scope of services that's going to entail.
Thank you, Mr. Riefler. Let's go to the citizens for comments. No comments, so citizen comments are now closed. Council, I need a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with Pinellas County.
Motion.
Motion was made by Frank Baker and seconded by Mr. Harper. Mr. Baker, you have the floor.
I believe it's something well needed. I'm glad you're looking into certain aspects, as Mr. Rufler explained, and I believe it should be passed.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Other comments?
Is there a cost associated with this?
No, the funding is provided through the Resilient Florida program. They've already been approved.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? All right. This is to approve the memorandum of understanding with Pinellas County, since this is a non-binding contract. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the memorandum of understanding is approved. All right, now we are on to unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Yes, sir.
I just want to bring up on my report, I did have a topic of Christmas decorations. I just want to mention that through insurance claims, we're getting some money back for our Christmas tree that was destroyed from the flooding. So we do plan on having a tree ordered and put up as usual for our Christmas tree lighting, which will be prior to the first meeting in this December meeting. But I also would like to mention we did budget pole decorations this year. We had $30,000 in the budget. I did check in with Duke just because they needed, per the plan, to light up all of Gulf Boulevard. It required another 17 receptacles put in on poles. They are not going to be able to complete that work for this season, but I do have 19 of the previous poles that have receptacles on them that I do have working outlets to do pole decorations. If there is still time, I've talked to the decorating companies to get an order in if the council would like to consider doing some pole lighting decorations this year for Christmas. I do have examples that, some of it, I felt like from some of the residents who spoke out in interest of having pole decorations, wanted more of the classic holiday deco. So I do have some examples that I can send out to council if we are interested. It would be under the $25,000 limit where we'd have to go out to bid, but I would get quotes. But based on the council's recommendations for those lights, I would take on ordering them and getting them installed for this holiday season. Just wanted to have that.
Council?
I think it's a good idea. I see it going both ways. I see some residents finding it to be in poor taste to put up Christmas decorations or holiday decorations, and others saying it's a cheerful time and we should be lifting everybody's spirits. So it could go in both directions. I'm more for the optimistic side than the pessimistic side.
Other comments?
I agree with him. I mean, it's slippery slope.
I think we need all the cheer we can use right now. And I would say, let's put up some lights. Because regardless, there's a reason why we celebrate. And we'd like to just move forward. Everybody good with that?
Yes, I agree.
Agreed.
I'd like to I'll just send out some of the ideas this week, and then we can just have the council reply, and I'll go by most popular votes to do in order.
Cool. Let's see, we discussed the reviewing the code. I definitely believe that whatever we can do, that it's not damaging to the community to move forward with some of these code changes, particularly building codes that we thought were less restrictive, because I'm sure that some people are going to consider knocking down and rebuilding. It would be nice to give them a fresh perspective for their architects to look at. That's about all I've got on unfinished business. Anyone else?
I have a couple items.
Okay.
Something we didn't talk about were the streetlights on the bridge pile. Is there any plan, or have we talked to Duke about getting those re-energized?
Yeah, from what I've seen, it's one side. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I need to reach out to Johnson County because they do the repair on that and then bill us, and I need to find out what's taking so long. I'll follow up on that.
And then it seems like we were short a vice mayor. At what point will we be considering making nominations?
Well, it's funny you should ask. I was actually, I had it on my list and I struck it off because I wasn't prepared to actually do that tonight. However, what I was going to say is I'd like to ask the council to, in the next couple of weeks, reach out to Renee and nominate who you would like to be vice mayor. And then at the next council meeting, we'll take a formal vote and we'll put somebody in. I only request that if you nominate someone, you nominate one person. Is that fair enough to everyone? Okay. And Renee, if you don't mind, would you reach out to Honors and let him know what the plan is so that he has the same information? Let's see. I think that was it. Any other unfinished business that anyone would like to bring up? No? All right, so now we're going to move on to city council comments. I'm going to begin with Councilmember Shirley.
Thank you. So I just want to thank everyone for considering appointing me as a council member. It's an honor. I hope that I can help assist and guide people through this process. I've been talking to Kyle quite a bit about permitting and giving some ideas and my input. I'm kind of on that receiving end of getting permits often and know how frustrating it can be because the information you get is never good. And I feel like when I go to a municipality, typically their goal is to send me out to Dean, and I'm trying to go about it. That's the way I feel about municipalities. And I hope that our citizens don't feel that way with Kyle. I know he's doing his best. And then I also just wanted to, one last thing is that on my way in from work today, our trash company, Waste Pro, was picking up trash on the street and not picking up everything. So I happened to be on the phone with Kyle at the time. He suggests they should be picking up. I immediately called Waste Pro, sent an email, received back an email from Ryan, who is our sales rep for Bel Air Beach, And he agreed he would be on site tomorrow, and that they should be picking up anything that's at your front door. You know, if you have cans, bags, yard debris, now that we've had most of the city picked up our last run of debris from the storm, Waste Pro should be picking up at your house, and if they're not, you should reach out to the city or to Waste Pro themselves.
Thank you very much for doing that. Next up is Councilmember Shaw Elliott.
I just wanted to commend our city manager once again for extraordinary service during very extraordinary times. Heard nothing but very positive things and have experienced very positive work from him, wonderful attitude, calm and truly calm in a storm, and he's a great asset, so thank you, Clyde.
Next up is Councilmember Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to thank the 3 new members of the council. I think they're bringing a lot of talent and strength to the council, and having 7 people up here that are all pulling for the city only makes us better. In addition to that, I think what happened with the 2 storms was obviously, goes without saying, just a terrible couple of events. And many people in our city, I don't think were prepared mentally for this. I know there's a lot of people that have lived here for a long time, and I talked to many of them when these storms were on the horizon. And what you always heard was, oh, it's never happened. I've been here for 45 years. We've never seen anything really bad. And then it happened. So the one silver lining that I have seen, and I did see throughout this process, was the interaction of the citizens in our city. I mean, it's sad to say that I think on some of our streets, you know, we may actually know fairly well 2 or 3 people on the street that we really talk to very often because we're all so busy in our life. Going through this event that we went through, everybody that I saw was reaching out to help other people. And as a result of that, I think we all know each other better. It just happened. And it's a pretty cool thing, and I think we'll be a much tighter city as a result of that. And I want to thank everybody in the city that has reached out to their neighbors. And even multiple streets over, just driving by, you would see something. I mean, I even stopped one day and talked to Frank. So that's just amazing that could even happen. We spent about an hour talking.
I tried to hide from
So I think the city has gotten stronger. I know one of our citizens mentioned that earlier. So it was a terrible event, but I think we're better in some ways for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Up next, Councilmember Baker.
Well, in the words of Ronald Reagan, he once said, the worst 9 words you'll ever hear when you open your front door is, hi, I'm from the government and here to help. And that really should be ringing by here right now. And tomorrow, there's voting booths, a lot of people mailed in. I'm not going to endorse anybody, but I'm going to say one thing about the current president. Never visited Florida after these storms. It says a lot. And his appointment at Deanna Griswold as FEMA director is a disgrace. She's a long-term bureaucrat. And if you think anything's going to change if Ms. Harris gets in for this state, God bless you, because I don't see it changing. So tomorrow morning, I hope you get out and vote. Vote your conscience. Kyle, once again, we need to do something for you and Aaron, especially. The whole city staff was tremendous throughout this. This guy goes out with Aaron and rescues people in the height of the storm. And I still remember when he was being interviewed, we had a letter saying, oh, he's too young. Could you imagine if we would have hired the one person that was my age? I wouldn't have been able to get my knees out of the boat. All right? You are a godsend to this this city. We really,
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Up next is Councilmember Harper.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to serve on the council, and I'm here to help and I'm here to volunteer. So, a couple of things that really come to mind here as we've kind of gone through this extraordinary time. One is, I think the praise for Kyle has been very well deserved. He has not only been on top of it, been responsive, but I think we highlighted several things tonight, which was just the bureaucratic maze that we deal with between state, federal, local, and all the different things that go on. And the idea that whenever I look at a list for Pinellas County and I look at city readiness for grants and I look at all the different data points that are there, Bel Air Beach is always there. Bel Air Beach is always ready to accept and receive and process grants and money and aid when it needs to. When I see so many other communities that have not even thought about it or prepared for it, and the fact that we get support and help so often and so regularly is because Kyle has done such a good job of running the machine that we call the City of Bel Air Beach. So I applaud you for that. I look forward to being here to help. My wife has done quite a bit of support in the community on Nextdoor. But just the idea of helping, do you have water, do you have a chainsaw, do you have whatever, so I would by all means use your social media skills and use your social media capabilities, because there's a lot of people in the community that want to help, just don't know where to help. So if you need something, ask, whether it's in the city or whether it's on one of the social media platforms.
Thank you, Councilmember Harper. And I would like to echo the help and service that Councilmember Shirley, Harper, and Welling, that they're volunteering at this time. It's probably the hardest time ever to be on the council is right now. And I'm truly grateful that you decided to come and work with us, and I look forward to the next 2 years. And that being said, as we conclude tonight's meeting, I want to take a moment to speak from the heart about the journey we still have ahead. We know that recovering from these hurricanes is not just about rebuilding structures, but also about restoring the lives and livelihoods that make Bel Air Beach the community we cherish. It was amazing to see how many people came to the aid of our community, groups of volunteers helping to remove large items from homes, neighbors opening up their homes, providing safety and shelter to their neighbors, donations of food, water, and cleaning supplies and pet food, and making deliveries to homes where some were unable to get to City Hall are just a few of the examples of kindness I witnessed here in Bel Air Beach. For several weeks, two incredibly generous people, Rudy and Marcia Davis, made countless trips to the stores all over the county, purchasing emergency supplies, coming to the aid of the community that they love. In fact, if you came down to City Hall and picked up any cleaning supplies, it was Rudy and Marcia Davis who provided them. They paid for it all. From the city of Bel Air Beach, thank you to Rudy and Marcia and everyone else who helped to make this difficult time a little less difficult. If you see either Rudy or Marcia or anyone else who helped out, please shake their hand, give them a hug, and tell them thank you. Now I ask each of you to remember the kindness and generosity we've seen in these past weeks. Let's hold on to that spirit as we continue to navigate this process together. There will be challenges, and at times it may feel slow or frustrating, but through patience, understanding, and a shared commitment to supporting one another, we can make the journey easier for everyone. Please be kind to your neighbors, patient with the city staff and leadership, and compassionate towards those who may be going through struggles we cannot see. We're in this together, and together we'll make Bel Air Beach whole again. Thank you for your strength, your resilience, and most of all, for caring so deeply about this community. Let's keep looking out for each other as we move forward, one step at a time. Thank you, and may God bless Bel Air Beach. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion is made by
I'd
Frank
like to
Baker.
add, I'd like to add one thing, and I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your leadership throughout all of this, as well as Mrs. Gaddis, in terms of all of the volunteerism and just hearts were out, and you were present, you were there, and it is most appreciated.
Thank you. All right, and the motion is made by Frank Baker. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, good night, everyone, and thank you for being here tonight.